Everybody, this is Miriam Bellamy with Whole Family Neurofeedback. I have today with me Elaine Taylor-Klaus. We are broadcasting live both on the Whole Family Neurofeedback page as well as the Neurofeedback Moms private group. Moms, if you're listening and you want to comment today, your name will be hidden, so you can feel free to comment openly, as you'll still be protected. If you have questions for Elaine, and I'm sure that you will. So Elaine and I met, was that 10 years ago, maybe?
Maybe more.
Yes, at a Scream-Free Parenting certification training. Mm-hmm. And the moms in the group know that I love Scream-Free Parenting, and I'm doing a series on that now. And I thought Elaine works with parents around complex kids. She is an author, parent educator, certified coach. She has written 2 books now. One that's already out. It's Parenting ADHD Now. And then she has written a new book. It'll be coming out maybe pre-sales in the spring, but it's called The Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids with ADHD, Anxiety, and More. She is also a parent advisor for the American Academy of Pediatrics, a National Board of Directors member of CHAD. What is CHAD, Elaine?
Children and Adults with ADD. And okay. I was a member of that. I may not have gotten you a current enough bio because I'm no longer on that board, but I was for several years.
Okay, very good. Very good. We had a little delay there, but it's good. So welcome. I'm glad you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you doing this.
It's so great to be here.
Yeah.
Truly.
So you have a unique approach in dealing with ADHD. Tell us a little bit about how you got started with all that.
So I'm a mom of 3 complex kids, and I often describe it as kind of a dominoes. You know, first one was diagnosed, then the next was diagnosed, and then I was diagnosed, and then the next, So we're an ADD plus family of 5. I like to say all 5 of us have been diagnosed with ADHD and a lot of other issues that go along with it. Some anxiety, some depression, some learning disabilities. And as I was trying to get a handle on how do I help these kids and how do I help myself help these kids, because I was struggling so much before I was diagnosed and treated, I discovered coaching. And in fact, I was on my way to become a therapist when I discovered this thing called coaching, and I couldn't find a schedule that met my life with 3 little kids. Mm-hmm. And so I did coaching, I thought, as a stopgap measure. Mm-hmm. And I fell in love the first afternoon I went. I called my husband in tears. And I said, I found it. This is it. And so I have been for over a dozen years now, coaching parents of complex kids and then teaching parents how to use coaching skills and strategies and concepts to more effectively communicate with their kids. Because very shortly after I started coaching, I discovered that it wasn't rocket science, and I was becoming a significantly better parent to my kids by using these strategies. And it's easy, and it's translatable, and it's doable, and it's really just about understanding and sort of taking an empowerment approach to raising kids.
Okay.
So that's what I do.
Yeah. So parenting is easy, huh?
For me, it's gotten a little easy. I mean, they run me through my paces, I'll tell you.
You bet.
But when you shift your approach and you don't hold on so tightly to how it has to be, and you begin to sort of follow them and lead and learn with them, it really does become a lot calmer and a lot easier. Yeah. And so when we established, I met my business partner, Diane Dempster, about 10 years ago, and we set up ImpactADHD because what we realized is there was a ton of support out there for kids, and there was very little available for parents. Like what you're doing now, a decade ago did not exist, right? And so we really wanted to meet the needs of parents and provide support that was affordable and accessible because we knew it was effective.
So ImpactADHD and what's different about, in a lot of ways, I think you have a lot that you offer that's different, but what the main thing is that you really are there for parents and helping coaching parents on the whole process. It's not just a fix your kid kind of mentality.
No, I had a mom call out of the blue today, and she was like, I just want some advice on this. And, delicately to say, I'm not here to just give you advice, but I'm happy to help you understand what's going on with your kid and guide you through learning a process of problem solving so that you can, I don't want to hand them a fish, right? I want to teach them to fish, and I want to teach them to plan a fishing trip. And that's for the parents, and then for the parents for the kids. I want them to be able to really understand and be in relationship with their kids for the long haul, because that's really what it's about.
I like how you take that to the next level of not just teaching them to fish, but teaching them to plan a trip.
Right. I mean, because it's going to go again and again, right? Yeah. So it happens. All of these issues that come up, they come up again and again. And just when you think you've got this done, something new comes up because they hit a new milestone or a new developmental stage, right? So we have to be able to dance with where they are and not just fix a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I hear you. So one of the things you talk about is parenting styles.
Yes.
So talk about your parenting style and where do you fit on this little graphic we have up here?
Okay. All right. So when we started, these were the first 5 parenting styles we identified. We now have more than a dozen. And when the new book comes out next summer, we will introduce them all to everybody. I'm very excited about that. But the ones that we identified at first, so most of you will recognize yourself in at least a couple of these. So Supermom Sue is the mom who's trying to keep the balls all in the air, and she's on top of everything and doing everything for everyone, right? Lost Lois, if you go down, a lot of my story was Lost Lois. Lost Lois is usually a mom who's impacted by some of these issues herself. And this could be a mom or a dad, but usually we have our own depression or anxiety or ADD or something that hasn't been well enough treated. And we begin to lose a sense of ourselves. We're trying so hard to give to our kids that we're giving ourselves away. And we lose a sense of self. And that can be really actually damaging, not only to ourselves, but to our kids, because that's not the positive concept you want to see them. You want them to raise them with. And then moving over to the right, you see Maxed Out Maxine. She may also have some of these same issues that her kids have. She's trying to keep those balls in the air, but they keep dropping. She's just overwhelmed. There's just too much and doesn't know where to focus and doesn't know how to handle it all. Yeah. And then on the top right, you see Angry Ann, or we also have Angry Andy. A lot of us, you try, you're as patient as you can, and then you lose it. You get frustrated, something pops, and that's normal. That's human. And so we all have a little bit of all of those. And then on the top, you see Conscious Connie. And Conscious Connie is also in all of us. And that's what we want to remember, right? Is that we all have her there. And the goal of this work that we do is to get you in touch with your inner conscious parent, right? To help you bring that parent out more, because they're there too. And yes, the other ones are going to show up, but if we can connect to Conscious Connie or Conscious Conrad, I think we're going to call him, then we can really interact with our kids from a different place.
Can you comment briefly about some of the dad ones that you've got coming out?
So we've definitely got a lot of requests for dads as well. So we got Bootstraps Bill coming out. You can imagine.
I think I'm married to Bootstraps Bill.
I think a lot of us are. But we also have Playful Dave, right? That's the dad who he's just going to come in and play. And then the mom's like, don't you see there are all these problems, right? There are more moms too, but there's Distant Dan, who has high expectations and can't figure out why everybody won't just meet the expectations. Yeah. There's Anxious Ava, so there's a bunch more coming down the pipe.
Well, regardless of, and I think that people can take a quiz on your website about.
Yeah, if you go to the website, if you go to ImpactADHD.com, there's a link to go take what's your parenting style? Take the quiz.
We'll put that link in the comments once the video is done. Yeah. So regardless of your parenting style, you also have tips on how to take your family from chaos to calm. We're just going to talk about your 2 favorite ones, let's say today, or your 2 top ones. There are 8 more on your website. We'll also put a link to those. But what are your 2 top tips for taking your family from chaos to calm? Okay. So yeah, there are a lot of tip sheets that people can access, and that's what that link is. But this particular one is sort of the big picture overview of like, how do you get your head around having these complex kids?
And I was going through trying to decide. So the two I think I'm going to choose today. I don't play favorites because you're going to use different strategies on different days, right?
That's true.
But one, I want to start with what we call taking aim, which is the first step in the model that we teach parents. So we have a methodology that we teach, a coaching-based model. It's very, very simple. And it's a problem-solving model, a collaborative problem-solving model. And so the first step is to take aim on one thing. And that means that there's lots and lots and lots of things that we want our kids to do or change, or we want to affect or impact. But when we try to do everything at once, we make ourselves crazy and we make them crazy. Right.
Yeah.
And so we really encourage parents to take a marathon view, to understand we're in this for the long haul, and to take aim on one thing really specifically, really more narrowly than you can imagine. So you don't want to take aim on mornings. They're overwhelming. But you could take aim on waking up or getting out of bed or brushing teeth. Like, the more specific and narrow and time-centered you can make a place to take aim, the more likely that you're going to have success, that your kid's going to feel success, and they're going to be inspired and motivated to try something else. See, we want to give our kids a win. We want them to begin to see themselves and feel themselves as successful. Mm-hmm. And the more specifically we take aim, the more effectively we can do that. And it takes the pressure off when you don't feel like you have to do everything at once. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? So taking aim would probably be the first one. Yeah. And then the other one is to get curious. And that's kind of like step 2 in our model, which is about collecting information. Getting curious is about really understanding what's going on that's interfering with a kid's ability to do whatever it is you want them to do. Mm-hmm. I often say, don't get furious, get curious, right? Oh, yeah. When you notice yourself getting frustrated or aggravated or stressed out or sad or hiding in a closet or losing your cool, instead of trying to change them, pull back and get curious about what's going on, right? What's making this happen? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they scared? Are they embarrassed? Are they is there something that's happening at school? Or is it the end of the day and they're just exhausted? Like, what's going on? When we get curious and understand the problem, oftentimes we say, ask the question, is it naughty or neurological? Mm-hmm. Right. So if we understand that it's neurological or metabolic and that it's not naughty, mm-hmm. then we will approach them differently. When we change our perspective, we're going to change our behavior. Mm-hmm. And that's for us, not just for them, right?
Yeah, there's a meme I posted in the Neurofeedback Moms group that was, your kid isn't giving you a hard time, your kid's having a hard time.
Yes, exactly.
And exactly. I think it's been interesting. I've been approached by more and more parents recently about, they think their child has ODD. And I was at a conference recently about autism, and the presenter was saying, ODD doesn't tell me anything. What's going on? So just like what you're saying there.
I often say ODD is what happens when ADD is not well managed.
Okay.
And there are a lot of people who
ASD too.
Yes, exactly, or ASD, exactly. When something else is going on, and the kid is feeling stressed, anxious, out of control, then you're going to see oppositional behaviors. Yeah. But oppositional behaviors are behaviors. That means something else is going on that's causing the problem. Okay. They're not the problem, they're the symptom.
Okay.
And so when we see a behavior that we don't want or don't like or want to change, mm-hmm. that means there's an underlying problem that we need to address. And instead of trying to change the behavior, we want to get curious and figure out what's really going on.
Yeah. And again, I really like what you said about a marathon and thinking about this. Hal taught us this, right? You keep your eyes on that horizon. As a parent, right? We always keep our eyes on that horizon. Keep beginning with the end in mind,
Well, and leaning into relationship, right? Like, at the end of the day, why did you have these kids? Most of us had kids because we wanted to have a relationship with these people. Mm-hmm. And we wanted them to grow up and be in our lives. And we would like to still be in relationship with them when they're in their 20s and 30s. Yeah. And so that means you don't wait to start the relationship till they turn 18.
That's right.
Right. That relationship happens every step along the way, and every exchange, every interaction, every request, every direction we give them is an opportunity to build that relationship or break it down.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's been such a helpful thing to always just keep remembering when I want to lose it, when I want to get furious.
And we do, because you're human.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with teenagers. Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Although I love teenagers. I think they get a bad rep, but they're challenging. Yeah.
The younger ones were harder for me. It's still hard, but it's a different kind of hard, with teenagers.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about neurofeedback. What's your neurofeedback? And
so I'm a fan of neurofeedback. I'll start by saying that. And thankfully, there's been some good research that's come out in the last year or so, especially in the ADHD realm, that's showing some real positive impact on ADHD symptoms with neurofeedback. So I think there's a lot of, I think the medical community is kind of shifting gears a little bit in response to neurofeedback. They're seeing there's some value, and it takes a long time for the medical community to catch up with what most of us already know,
Sure does.
Takes a little while.
Yeah.
But so maybe they'll figure out coaching really works too one day. Maybe. But so there's some good research on neurofeedback. And I was telling you earlier that I tried it with one of my kids. Okay. And it was not a huge success, but it was mostly because we found it difficult. The compliance in those days was difficult. This was about a decade ago.
Okay.
And there was a lot of like goo in the hair and this big mass like thing that went over the head. And, a 16-year-old kid is not really interested in doing this. They, want to go hang out with their friends. So it was not a huge hit for me, but what I could see the impact. And I know the value of it. So I'm a fan of it. I think what I want to, reinforce is that it's a piece of the puzzle, right? That it's really important when we're managing these complex issues to remember that we're managing really complex issues.
Yeah.
So we can, improve some brain function with neurofeedback, or maybe we can reduce some impulsivity with medication, or, whatever the different pieces of the puzzle. Maybe we can get a little more sleep and improve focus and attention. But they're all pieces, and real treatment for these kids. Comprehensive treatment means looking at all the pieces at the right time.
You bet.
Not doing everything at the same time, right? Taking aim on where you want to focus now, and bringing our kids into the process, into the conversation, getting their buy-in to their own self-management. Because our goal here is to teach them that it's going to be up to them in their lives to manage their brains, and brains are complicated.
Yeah.
And they're fabulous and fascinating. And I love they's complex brains. We're much more interesting people, right? And they're complicated. And so I can manage it for a while, but my job is not to become the expert on my kid's brain. It's to help my kid become the expert on their brain.
Yeah.
Right.
Very well said. Yeah, and I was telling you too, when we did neurofeedback for my own family, I did 3 sessions for every one that my youngest did. And that's why I'm whole family neurofeedback, is because you're right. It's not about fixing your kid. It's about an emotional process that is complex and that we're a part of.
Right. Huge part of.
Yeah.
Huge part of. Right.
We're the leaders, or potentially we're the leaders in the family. And the more we take care of self, put our own oxygen mask on first, right? The more impact we can have. And by the way, neurofeedback has come an awful long way in 10 years.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much.
Not so much goo. Right.
Not so much goo. And it just 2 little spots and it wipes right out. The child doesn't even have to, at least the way we do it, the child doesn't have to focus on the video game, which can be frustrating. They can just sit back, listen to the music, or just passively watch a movie. The brain goes to work in our sessions. And you can do it.
Amazing.
And it's more affordable.
That's all of that. Just like, yes, because it's amazing. And it's really helpful. What I like to, sometimes I break it down. We look at prevention issues and we look at management issues. Right. And in some way, neurofeedback's kind of a little bit of both. Right. It kind of bridges gaps the two, because on some ways, by improving brain function, you're preventing a lot of problems. And it's also sort of a method for management. So
and that's what we say, is we don't actually treat ADHD, right? We train the brain, and when the brain improves, a lot of things improve.
It does, because ADHD ultimately is a behavioral management issue. And so whatever helps you learn to manage yourself, and that goes for adults, not just kids, right? This notion that I can't do that because of my ADD. That's an excuse. It's here's how the ADD shows up and what do I need to do to learn to manage it. That's a choice.
Can you say that one more time about ADHD as a behavior management problem? Say that again, how you said that?
It's a behavior management issue, right? Okay. So you have all of these symptoms that show up. I have trouble with attention, impulsivity, hyperactivity, emotionality, like whatever your areas, they're kind of 5 key areas, organization. Yeah. If you struggle with those, that's reasonable. There's an explanation for why you struggle with those, but that's not an excuse for not managing it.
Okay.
The way to get a handle on it is to say, okay, here's the behavior I want to change, I want to manage, I want to get a handle on. If I want to not lose my keys all the time, I'm going to have to create a system or a structure for myself to know where to find my keys, because I have a working memory problem, and so I need to be able to find my keys, right? That's management. It's just conscious thought, basically, and setting an intention for the change you want to see, and then figuring out how to make each one happen. The challenge is you got to do it one thing at a time, and that can be a little frustrating for people.
That concept of aiming, right?
Taking aim at one thing at a time, but it really works. It really works. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be thinking about that with some things going on with one of my daughters right now.
Well, we'll send you a little access to Sanity School. It'll flip things around for you, because it teaches them what Sanity. So we have a behavior training program online called Sanity School, and it teaches this model, and it's simple. Like, it had to be simple because parents are busy and overwhelmed, and like we don't have time to remember a lot of stuff. But we've created in a way that it's really simple, and our clients will say to us all the time, when I go back to the model, it works. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Very nice. So we are running out of time for today. I want to let parents know that if you go to ImpactADHD.com/gift, there is a list of tips for motivating your complex kid. Yeah. We'll put the link to that in the comments, as well as the other links we mentioned. What else? Elaine also has an Impact ADHD parents group on Facebook. And look for that book. Again, the Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kid with ADHD, Anxiety, and More. Anything else, Elaine?
Be out soon. Thanks for having me, and thanks for this amazing work you're doing.
It was great to see you again.
Yep, you too.
All right, take care.